Hi, I'm Alejandria. I'm the teen librarian at KPL.
Hi, I'm Susannah. I'm a teen and family engagement librarian at KPL.
And hi, I'm Jake. I'm the youth services librarian at KPL.
And today we're doing YA All Day, which are our spoiler-free book talks.
Because we miss you and we miss getting to talk about books with you.
Okay, well, I'll start. So the first book I'd like to book talk is called Pet, and it's by Akwaeke Emezi. Got a little bit of a glare there. Oh, well. And it's a pretty short book. It's only about 200 pages, which is pretty great. It centers on a character named Jam, and Jam lives in kind of like not quite a utopia, but like definitely a future sort of world in the city of Lucille, where all the monsters have been driven out by the angels. But one day, a creature comes through a portal and tells her that there is a monster lurking in the home of her best friend Redemption. So they have to go on a monster hunt to kind of find the monster. It's very relatable to like the world we live in, and kind of has a lot of messages in it, but it's also still a really fun book to read, and I never felt like bored while reading it. And there were even times when I laughed, even though it dealt with some serious issues. But yeah, this was a really good one, and I can see why it was on a lot of best of lists. So Pet.
All right.
I'm out for a while.
Okay, we're gonna stay on our fantasy kick, and I'm gonna talk about A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. So this one actually just came out on June 2nd. So it might not be available on the shelves at KPL quite yet, but it will be eventually, we promise. And this is a contemporary fantasy. So it's set in Portland, Oregon, but a version of Portland, Oregon that has some supernatural elements. The two main characters, Tavia and Effie, are best friends who are basically sisters. And they are, as it says on the back here, young, black, and secretly magical. So we love all of those things. And the main plot centers around the fact that Tavia is a siren. So her voice has magical power as well as figurative power. And she is living in a society where that is something that women are persecuted for. So this is a book about discrimination, about the racism and sexism in the real world, but also about kind of fantasy discrimination. And her best friend Effie is going through some weird changes. They think they're supernatural changes, but they do not know what she is changing into. So you'll have to read A Song Below Water by Bethany Morrow to find out.
Cool. Well, I don't have my book with me right now because I don't really have any books in my house. Honestly, that's weird. I know, not relatable, right? I don't have that now.
We can edit in a cover. I mean,
It's right here.
Okay, well, I'm going to say that again so that you can edit that chunk out and then we can start again.
We're trying to make these relatable.
I know. Well, I don't have my book with me, but maybe we'll put the cover over here. We'll see what happens. My book is Snapdragon by Kat Leyh. And Kat Leyh was a writer for Lumberjanes first. At least that's how I first found her. I know she has some book about pancakes that I thought looked pretty fun that I should maybe try looking up and reading. But I had the pleasure of listening to her speak, and I met her at Comic-Con in Chicago, C2E2, a few years ago. Thought she was really cool. I saw she had all these posters at her booth, so I went and grabbed one and got it signed and talked to her for a while. And then she told me she had a graphic novel coming out in 2020, which made me really excited because she was this really cool person that I thought, oh, I'll read something else by you because I'm a big Lumberjanes fan. So Snapdragon is about a young girl named Snapdragon. She goes by Snap. She's heard about this like town witch that lives in her town. So she's like, I'm going to go see what's up. And she finds out that this witch is just like this kind of like weird old lady named Jax. And Jax, the whole thing is like this witch like eats animals and it's like really creepy and weird and cool. But it turns out Jax actually just takes roadkill and articulates the skeletons to sell. So sure, she does like take dead animals and do things, but she doesn't eat them. So Snap is like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, oh, that's weird, but like, okay, whatever. And Jax is like, oh, well, Snap, I'll help you take care of these little baby possums that you found. If you help me by collecting roadkill and burying it in the ground for me so that I can use the skeletons later to do my articulated skeleton models. Kind of like the things you see at dinosaur museums, like the way the dinosaurs are. She does that with like possums. So Snap is like, cool, let's do this. I want to raise my little baby possums, which are so cute. It is a graphic novel. If I didn't mention, I hope I did. It's really, really beautiful. The colors are just gorgeous. Like the way it's drawn, I really loved it. Snap is this single, her mom is a single mom. She's kind of like a latchkey kid, so she's really self-sufficient. I love her friend Lou. Their friendship is really great. And Lou goes through some discovery, and there's some gender identity stuff there I really loved. It has a little bit of magic, and I don't want to spoil anything, but there's some really fun stuff there. And I just love the way that Jax may or may not connect back to Snap. And that was really, really awesome. It was one of my favorite things I read this year for sure. And it's a great graphic novel. I'd say it's only like 200-ish pages. It's really nice, easy read, but such a good choice.
Awesome.
Okay, so my second pick and my last pick is actually not a new book. It was from 2015, I think it was published. But I reread it because I recently watched all of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, which Noelle Stevenson is the showrunner for. So I reread Nimona, which is a beautiful graphic novel that she did when she was in college. I actually there was after I like watched all of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, there was a 2-hour interview with her, like from like Critical Role, and I like just watched. I listened to it all while I was playing Animal Crossing, collecting my seashells because gotta please Tom Nook. But so after that, I'm like, okay, I think I want to reread Nimona. So you may already be familiar with Nimona. If you are not, it's a graphic novel that started as a webcomic, which she started when she was in college, actually. And I think, according to the interview, she actually got her book deal while she was still in college, too. So if you are a comic creator and you haven't finished school yet, there's still the possibility that somebody may be interested in your work. But in this graphic novel, the setup is kind of that Nimona just appears one day at Ballister Blackheart's secret evil lair and tells him that she's there to be his sidekick. And he's not altogether too pleased with that at first. But then he sees she has amazing shape-shifting abilities when she shifts into a shark right in front of him, and is like, oh, did I not mention I also shapeshift? And he's like, well, I guess that could be useful. So that is the story of how she became his sidekick, and the rest of the book is kind of their adventures. And it's kind of funny because the book that I also book-talked Pet was kind of about good and evil, and that maybe not everyone who looks like they're good is good. And this kind of also deals with those themes of like they're trying to expose the fact that the heroes of the story may not be the heroes of the story. But it is a really sweet book. I love the illustrations. It's also like laugh out loud hilarious, like the show She-Ra is. And I know you mentioned Lumberjanes, which is another thing that Noelle Stevenson is involved with. So, we love Noelle Stevenson in this house.
We do.
Do you know
All
about
of
the
these
movie?
houses.
The movie?
The movie.
Lumberjanes movie next year.
I did not know about that because I have not been keeping up with my what is being turned into a movie.
It was supposed to be a movie. So basically Blue Sky was the one who was doing it. And they're owned by Fox. And so when all that stuff happened with Disney and Marvel and all that jazz getting bought, when they were purchased, the movies and everything kind of got delayed. But Nimona was originally supposed to open, I think this spring or this fall, but they moved it to next spring. So I think it's like March 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And another reason to read the book before you see the movie.
And I'll add a secret side book talk to that and just say that Noelle Stevenson also has a memoir out this year that's a lot about when she was writing Nimona, and it's so good. And that is called The Fire Never Goes Out. Something like that. But my actual second book is We Used to Be Friends by Amy Spalding. And it is very sweet, but also kind of sad. And I read it earlier this spring and really loved it, so I wanted to talk about it now. It's told in two narrations between Kat and James, who have been best friends since kindergarten. But by the end of their senior year of high school, they have completely drifted apart. Their friendship has just disintegrated, and both of them are kind of not sure why. So the really cool thing about this book is that the two narrations go in opposite directions. So James's chapters start with her getting ready to leave for college at the end of their senior year, and they go, which way is that? Backwards in time to the beginning of their senior year. And then Kat's narration goes opposite. So it starts at the beginning of the book with the beginning of their senior year and then goes the other way. So you get the same story told from two different perspectives in opposite directions, which is really cool, little confusing, but Amy Spalding does a really great job, and it's easy enough to follow. You're making a face.
That's like The Last 5 Years, the musical.
Yes. So this one's really fun. I think it addresses something we don't really talk about that much, which is how much a friendship breakup can feel like a romantic breakup. It can feel even worse, especially when it's somebody who has been in your life that long. So this one's a favorite of mine this year, I think. It's got some great subplots. They're both dealing with some family issues. Kat and her girlfriend are running a campaign to try to get their school to let them be prom couple, genderless prom royalty. So that's one of my favorite little bits of this story as well. It's a great one if you're a fan of Becky Albertalli or Maureen Goo's books. So funny and fluffy, but also hitting some really emotional issues.
Awesome. My last book is Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. Dean Atta is a gay Black poet from England. This is my first time reading anything by him, but I had heard about him, and I'd heard about his selection in a anthology that was released last year that I know I've seen, and I thought maybe I had picked it up once. I think it's called Pride or Proud. I think it's called Pride. And it looked really good. And another friend who is on a awards committee, a book awards committee, had maybe mentioned that this was a book I should maybe just check out. That it existed. So it was actually published in England last year, I believe. And so then that's why it was up for, and it won, or was at least a Stonewall nominee. But this year is when it came out in America. I believe it was just either earlier this spring or just a little bit ago. But I was really, really excited. The cover was gorgeous. The UK cover is unfortunately less so. It's kind of a bummer how not as cute the UK cover is, because the American cover is just what ultimately, I saw it and I was like, I have to read that. It's about a young guy named Mike, who's a biracial teen from England. And it's kind of like as he grows up and then goes into college, just like his basically right when he starts college, his first year. His mom and her family are from Greece. They're Cypriots, so that's like a Greek, the people from Cyprus. And then his dad's family is from Jamaica. He lives with his mom though, so he doesn't really see his dad a lot except for at these like family meals. He doesn't really have a relationship with his dad either. He's kind of closer with his uncle. He's biracial and he's kind of caught between like his white and black identities, or his Greek and black identities, I guess. And then he's gay also, so he's kind of caught up in all of these three things and dealing with issues of masculinity and feeling like yourself and kind of not knowing how you fit in the world. It's in verse, and I will say I do not usually read books in verse. I have read Long Way Down and this one. They're the only two I've actually read. Otherwise, I listen to them in audiobook because I like that better. I think I just really like poetry being read to me because I don't feel like I always have a grasp on how it should sound. In fact, reading some of the lines in person, like I'm like, I think I'm doing that wrong, but still really pretty. It explores how he finds himself in poetry, actually. So not only is it a book about written in verse, but it's also about him like discovering poetry and his emotions and feelings. But then also later through doing drag in college, but in a different way. I love how it kind of shows drag and how it can be all these different things. It doesn't just have to be some queen lip syncing in a bar or on TV or singing, or it can be so many other things too. Is really emotional and thoughtful, but I honestly didn't think it was like difficult. So it's got all these things happening for it and you're definitely feeling and going along with all the emotions, but like I was never like, this is too tough to go on. I just was like, wow, this is insanely gorgeous. Yeah, and one of the things I really loved was a lot of YA about discovering yourself is set in America. So we kind of get stuck in this is how teens are, but teens are different everywhere. It's always written by American authors. And even sometimes when it's not American, they're not always written by authors from there. So it's great to read like British YA by a British author. And it covers like first love, first heartbreak. The last 20 pages are some of the best YA pages I've ever read in my whole life. And that includes Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe, which is like a full book in my mind. But I definitely haven't found a YA book that I've liked more in 2020. And I don't think I will. Which I like have a weird feeling about, but I also grabbed a couple like little lines I wanted to read because it's poetry, it's beautiful. I really liked be a beautiful thing, be the moonlight too. Remember you have the right to be proud. Remember you have the right to be you. And I loved this other one. So Black Flamingo is the title, and the whole thing is he sees this black flamingo who's like kind of the albino version of a flamingo. And there's all these, so when flamingos are like albino, basically they're actually black instead of white.
Huh.
Those are traditionally white, actually.
True.
Eat all that food to make them pink. So the black flamingo is like rare and not seen, and it's special and it's gorgeous. So the whole book is like a simile, right? Simile, like or as, or metaphor. But comparing yourself to this gorgeous thing. So one of the really great stanzas I loved was, I often feel like a bad egg that was not meant to be, like a dummy egg cracked open, an impossible thing, but somehow living and thriving, defying the zookeeper's intentions, an experiment they watch and patiently wait to see what might become of me, to see how I survive without complete. And then it's got some spaces and it says love. So that was gorgeous. And anytime that Mike, as his drag queen persona, is reading poetry, I found myself like just distraught and amazed and everything. And then not only can it be like super serious, but there's like really cute, funny lines like Rowan looks like Ed Sheeran if he were handsome, which is such a funny line. And
Sorry, Ed Sheeran.
and made me
I hope you're not
giggle
watching
really
this, Ed Sheeran.
I think Ed Sheeran's handsome, but like I also get it. He also kind of looks just like a hobbit from Lord of the Rings, but like he's a cute hobbit. So yeah, Dean Atta does not is in a world right now where there are so many good YA books, please grab that one. And then if you like it, there's also that George M. Johnson book. It's called All Boys Aren't Blue, or
Yeah.
All Boys Aren't Blue, and which is currently actually the #1 LGBTQ book on Amazon at the moment.
And that just got optioned to be turned into a show, I believe.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Speaking of adaptations.
I got that one. That one's actually like a, what is it? Not an anthology, like a set of essays, kind of.
Yeah, memoir essay, I think.
Yeah, that looked really good. But so this one actually isn't really a memoir technically. It's a YA fiction, or I guess like fictional verse and book and verse, but it reads like someone who's writing from their experiences. Oof, it was everything.
Awesome.
All right.
We heard about some great books. We learned some facts about flamingos.
Mm-hmm.
Not to like.
I didn't know that fact about flamingos.
I didn't either. It was fun to read.
All right, really quick before we end, do you guys have a book that came out recently or is coming out really soon that you are looking forward to reading? Just, it could be a title. You don't have to give a whole summary, but like, I know for me, I'm trying to get my hands on You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, which is just a little hard to get my hands on right now.
Mm-hmm. That one does look awesome.
I am about to start reading. I got it in the mail a couple days ago, but I have been so distracted by other books. But I have A Song of Wraiths and Ruin that just came out on June 2nd as well. And I'm really excited to keep my little song YA fantasy train going here after Song Below Water.
I read mine, but you should all be excited to read it because it comes out in December and it's by one of my YA author dream husbands, Arvin Armadi. And it's How It All Blew Up. I read it in like 4 or 5 hours. Like I just destroyed it. It is, oh goodness. So I think it's December. So 6 months of waiting. I'm sorry, everybody, but ooh.
Put it on your read list for 6 months from now.
All right.
All right. Bye.